Good evening, everyone. My name is Sister Marie Lucy, and I am the Associate Director of Franciscan Action Network. The Franciscan family gathers tonight as advocates, organizers, peacemakers, and people of prayer. Our program this evening brings together communities from across the country, united by a shared commitment to justice, peace, creation, and human dignity. As we begin, we pause to celebrate what God has done through this movement in the last year, not through the FAN staff alone, but through all of us. Every campaign begins somewhere. For FAN, it begins in prayer. Because we prayed together in our communities, justice circles, and on webinars, our work remained grounded in the gospel of Jesus Christ and the Franciscan tradition. Vowed religious and lay people alike found courage when challenges felt overwhelming. Because we prayed, our Franciscan movement remembered that every policy affects real people created in the image of God. You prayed for migrants seeking safety, for communities experiencing poverty, for peace in a divided world, and for our common home. Those prayers became the foundation of everything that followed.
My name is Michelle Dunn, and I'm a secular Franciscan and the Executive Director of FAN. Because you advocated, Franciscan values reached places where decisions are made. Thousands of you answered action alerts. You contacted elected officials at a record pace. You participated in dozens of legislative meetings, campaigns, webinars, and public witness events. Again and again, Franciscan-hearted people showed that advocacy is an expression of love. Every message sent, every meeting attended, and every voice raised mattered. Because you showed up, this movement continues to grow. Across the country, there are now 34 Franciscan justice circles, including 4 on college campuses, that gather people who want to put faith into action. New relationships are forming inside circles and between circles through our monthly national calls, and new opportunities for learning, organizing, and community are taking root. What began as individual acts is becoming a powerful intergenerational Franciscan movement. Love in action.
Because you gave, this work became possible. Every webinar, every training, every advocacy effort, every gathering. You helped create opportunities to form new young adult leaders across the country through our growing Franciscan Justice Leadership Conference and through justice circles on college campuses. Some gave financial support, others gave their time, and others shared their expertise and leadership. All of it mattered. Every contribution became part of something larger than any one person.
The challenges to human dignity in the United States and the world compel us to act. As Pope Leo wrote in his recent encyclical Magnificat Humanitas, quote, "Human dignity does not depend on a person's abilities, wealth, or position in life, nor on the right or wrong choices made. Instead, it is a gift that precedes and transcends each person, endowed by God as an expression of His unfailing love." End quote. Every one of us, committed to following Jesus Christ in the way shown to us by St. Francis, has a role to play. We gather this evening to celebrate the beautiful work we are doing together because you prayed, advocated, showed up, and gave. and to remind ourselves of what is ours to do. The next chapter of this Franciscan movement for justice, peace, creation, and human dignity is being written right now.
Good evening. I'm Sister Karen Stapleton, a Franciscan Poor Clare from Chesterfield, New Jersey, and a member of the board of the Franciscan Action Network. Welcome to FAN's 2026 benefit program, Dignity First, Nourishing Lives, Transforming Communities. If you're here, it means that you or your community have supported this unusual benefit. You've given up your dinner to someone who truly needs it. In this case, a guest of the Capuchin Soup Kitchen in Detroit, Michigan, and joined us online for what I hope you will find to be a stimulating program about how Franciscans and Franciscan-hearted people can uphold the human dignity in the United States through direct service to and policy advocacy in solidarity with our brothers and sisters. Thank you so much for your support. Your donation makes it possible for the Franciscan Action Network, FAN, to continue raising a collective Franciscan voice in our nation's capital and all through the United States through the Franciscan Justice Circles, calling for compassionate and effective laws and policies to uphold human dignity and establish justice, peace, and protect creation. Over the next hour, here is what will happen. We're going to view a mini documentary showing the FAN's staff recent visit to the ministries of the Capuchin Soup Kitchen in Detroit, where they served a meal and spent 2 days learning from the friars, staff, and volunteers and guests how to accompany people whose human dignity is under threat. Following the video sequence, we will have an interview with our featured speaker, Sister Norma Pimentel, whose work as Executive Director of Catholic Charities of Rio Grande Valley, near the Texas-Mexico border, has set a high standard for how to uphold the dignity of people, whether they are migrating, facing deportation, or enduring hardships, including poverty and marginalization. You will also hear about the incredible growth of FAN's Franciscan Justice Circles, and will present our annual Franciscan Justice Award to the Franciscan Justice Circle of New Mexico. We have an exciting update for you on FAN's growth and sustainability campaign, and we will end with prayer and a song. FAN's work would not be possible without your generosity. Thank you for supporting FAN tonight and all year long. And now, enjoy the program. Together, we can put dignity first.
Hi, my name is Julia Alexson. I'm from Viterbo University in La Crosse, and I'm here in Assisi as a pilgrim on scholarship. Walking these streets, I'm learning that hope is not only something that we wait for, but it's also something that we can build together. I see justice as an expression of love, a way of saying that every person matters, that every voice deserves to be heard. And tonight, I am grateful to be among people who choose compassion, not only as a feeling, but also as a practice. May we carry forward in the spirit of St. Francis and St. Clare with courage and humility. May our hearts remain open to the realities others face, our words guided by truth, and our actions rooted in justice.
Good evening. My name is Brian Simmons. I'm from Monterey, California, and I'm a secular Franciscan. Over many years, I have come to understand pilgrimage as a call not only to personal reflection, but also to responsibility. In this place, shaped by the witness of Francis of Assisi and Clare of Assisi, I am reminded that faith is not passive. It moves us outward toward those who are overlooked, excluded, or burdened by injustice. As we gather tonight from many traditions and convictions, we are united by more than goodwill. We are united by a commitment to act. So let us pray as we begin FAN's annual benefit dignity first, nourishing lives, and transforming communities. Spirit of life, source of all goodness, awaken in us a deeper courage. Strengthen our resolve to stand with those in need, to speak when silence would harm, and to work for a world shaped by dignity, equity, and peace. Bless this gathering, the work we support this evening, and all those whose lives will be changed through it. Amen.
Last month, members of the Franciscan Action Network staff traveled to Detroit, Michigan to visit and serve in the Capuchin Soup Kitchen. Fan staff learned about the different ministries of our longtime institutional member, the Capuchin Franciscan Province of St. Joseph, how those serving in these ministries understand human dignity and how it shapes their work, and how we can work together through both direct service and advocacy to build the civilization of love Pope Leo talks about in Magnifica Humanitas.
Well, we have two soup kitchens or dining rooms, one our Meldrum site and then Connor. But we also have a services center with a shopper's choice grocery and clothing and household goods. People can come in and shopping cart and they do the shopping. We also have our Jefferson House program, which is 50 years old this year. It's for indigent men who are battling addiction, alcohol, or drugs. It's a 9-month, it's entirely free for them. And then we have Earthworks Urban Farm, which I like to say is probably the first certified organic farm in the city limits of Detroit. Wow. But someone will tell me it was another one if I say first. So one of the first. And we have about 1.25 acres. And we provide a lot of produce for the soup kitchens, fresh produce, and also market once a week for the neighborhood.
What started in 1929 as a simple meal of soup and bread has evolved to include just a whole variety of social services to help uplift our neighbors in need here in metropolitan Detroit.
The Food Kitchen Services Center is a guest choice pantry and food pantry and clothing pantry. And so the guests next day appointments, they call, schedule, and they're able to come in and get 30 articles of clothing for each member of their family, and also 40 to 80 pounds of food for their whole family. So that's by household only.
And what I do, we do food referrals. We have a service center where people can come get free groceries and clothes, and dishes and things of that nature, hygiene stuff. I have a closet next to us, and thank God for our donors and benefactors.
And I think you see it also in the way that we approach the meal. Chef Allison really goes to great lengths to ensure that the food that we're serving here is going to be both delicious and nutritious. We have an urban farm as one of the programs of the soup kitchen where we're growing our own produce organically that then comes into the soup kitchen. So it makes our soup kitchen a bit of a farm to table soup kitchen. So the ingredients are what's in season, what's fresh, and what's nutritious. So we're really, I think, doing all that we can to really nourish people, body, mind, and spirit.
You gotta personalize it. That could be your brother, your sister, your son or daughter, anyone coming through that line, anyone, or yourself. How would you like to be treated? The dining room should be treated like a sanctuary, a safe space for people. It's a sacred space, and you want the people to feel safe. You want the volunteers to know that we're going to be known by our hospitality, and that doesn't just how we treat each other. And I tell the staff that's how you treat each other too, but by hospitality in the food.
Sure.
In speaking with volunteers and guests, this care and concern for the dignity of each person was something that really stood out to each of them.
I think places like this really get good quickly at rolling with the punches, at being able to serve in a variety of different circumstances. I came in about 10 minutes late, and they were ready to just get me right on the line. So they really know their stuff. They know what they're doing. And more importantly, everyone who comes in is greeted with a smile, with a greeting, with the acknowledgement that they are beloved of God and that they matter.
They have day court, Secretary of State coming through here. They give out vouchers for food. And they're down here today. They be over in that corner. They come in for people that need sheltering, help, low-income housing. They have a lot of resources come here. They're very strong activists in this community. And the food is good. It's good. I've been coming here for years.
And do you feel like you and the other guests are all treated with respect here?
With the utmost respect. When it comes to them treating their constituents here, there's no big eyes and little you.
It's a beautiful place and beautiful people and beautiful atmosphere. And some people realize they think it's food for the stomach. No, it's food for the soul. It's food for the heart and the mind. And you do receive it when you step through those doors. Your whole attitude changes and they come and sit down. And then they see the meal there, but they be full, begin their feeding right then and there. And see, that's why people say, oh, I'm full, because of the presence of God.
This connection between access to good, quality food and human dignity is at the heart of their work and our shared mission.
So oftentimes people don't have access to fresh food. They're shopping at convenience stores, gas stations, dollar stores to purchase food, and not being able to have that connection to stores where they can actually have food that is nutritious and good for them. It's connected to human dignity because everyone deserves the right to have access to not only food, but fresh foods. And that was the inspiration for our programming when we were founded in 1998 by Rick Salmon, who was a friar at the time, and he was also a social worker.
I am the bakery manager of the On the Rise Bakery and Cafe. The cafe is in the Solana Center in Detroit, and the bakery is at an off-site location. It is a production-only commissary bakehouse. The ROPE program, Reaching Our Potential Every Day, that's what the ROPE stands for. It's a one-year program of formerly incarcerated persons. So the program was started to give them a one-year work experience, get them to build up some money and find a place and get themselves back on their feet and possibly learning new skills. And what I feel is very important of working here at the cafe, the soft skills that a lot of people are missing these days.
As they look to the future, they've begun to develop a new project that takes their commitment to dignity to a whole new level.
Over at our Meldrum kitchen, which is under construction, which is why for 6 months, guests are dining under the big top. When it opens, it's going to be part of a network will be the 13th refectorio in the world. Chef Massimo Butera started it. He's a 5-star Michelin chef. And there's 2 in the States, Harlem and San Francisco. Refectorio is Italian for refectory, which means dining room or dining hall.
When we open the refectorio in November, it's going to be sit down. So guests will come in, they'll sit down. There will be silverware, china, tablecloths, a menu showing what's on the menu for that day, and it's a multi-course meal. So typically we'd have like a soup or a salad, an appetizer, followed by an entree, followed by a dessert. Our refectorio, which is called Refectorio Detroit Capuchin Soup Kitchen, that's going to open, it'll be the 3rd in the United States.
In how they treat each person and their plans for the future, we see their consistent commitment to human dignity. It also shapes their understanding of the vital role advocacy can and must play in promoting human flourishing.
I like to say, Jesus in the Gospel of Luke said, "Blessed are the poor." And I sometimes think we're the only society that has put a modifier on that. Blessed are the deserving poor. And then we decide who's deserving and who's not deserving. I perceive our guests as no different from me. They just have perhaps greater challenges and fewer resources. And there, but for the grace of God, could go I. I think if someone does advocacy, but looks down upon or disdains direct service, to me that means they're an ideologue and not coming with like a heart that I think a Franciscan. If somebody does direct service and doesn't recognize the need for systemic change, then they're naive. And so I would not want to be, I try not to be either naive or an ideologue.
That is something I think that we can learn from Christ and from Francis, and that is this love for everyone, regardless our differences, regardless our boundaries, whatnot. We are, at the end of the day, we're still brothers and sisters and children of the same Father. So
they're all people.
Yeah.
They all still need to be treated and want to be treated with an equal amount of respect.
I would like for them to put their political agendas to the side and be human for just 5 minutes. That's all it's going to take. And they need to know, policymakers need to know that the same people you see going up are the same people you'll see coming down. Mm-hmm. It can be them too. You know what I'm saying?
One of the things that we support are the organizations that are about food policy and advocacy. So in Detroit, we have what is called the Detroit Food Policy Council. It was something that didn't exist going back a little over 15 years. And supporting other organizations that are about advocacy.
There was a decision made in Washington to not pay out SNAP benefits. So the folks who go to the grocery store, have a bridge card that's funded through the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, they didn't receive their funding in the month of November of 2025. And so that created an enormous strain on so many households. Now, as part of the Capuchin Soup Kitchen, we operate our Capuchin Services Center food and clothing pantry. And so that food pantry is meant to be a supplement to the supplement. So if SNAP is the supplemental source of food for many households who maybe don't earn enough, because many of them are working poor, they maybe don't have the earnings where they can provide enough food for the month, they rely on SNAP. If that's not enough, then they might come to the Capuchin Services Center and shop our food pantry to help supplement that supplement. But when SNAP went away, now the Services Center became the main supplement, and that was very difficult for us to handle, frankly.
Last year, around the shutdown in November, many of our guests really rely on food stamps. The uncertainty was really devastating. We noticed that we had way more guests around that time. Our food pantry, they couldn't really keep up. There were just people coming everywhere all the time. We cannot solve all problems. There are things that we're good at, but we cannot provide all services. And that's why it's important that we have partners who are better at other things. It's like you're great at talking to people who have more power.
Meldrum tends to be lightly housed or homeless men and women. But all of a sudden, for the first time, I was seeing families at Meldrum. And that happened very quickly when they didn't get the SNAP benefits. It ended when the SNAP benefits were restored.
But then we're also looking ahead to, in January of 2027, we know that there's going to be, as part of the big, beautiful bill that was passed, there will be a either work or volunteer requirement for SNAP recipients. And so that's going to create some issues, I think, again, for the folks who are relying on SNAP benefits and for our services center food pantry and in our soup kitchens. So we're very grateful for the work of the Franciscan Action Network in working with legislators, raising these issues. We're a 501c3. We can't get involved in advocacy in that way. So we're very grateful for the great work that you all are doing.
As far as what we're doing here in Detroit, it, I believe, should influence what you're doing in DC.
Yeah.
And what happens in DC directly influence us.
Absolutely.
And it's that circular relationship that is needed and wanted.
It was wonderful to go and see how well those two work together. Really, it is so much of we need both. We need people to be fed tonight and today, and we want people to be fed in 10, 15, 20 years. And in our advocacy, we want stories from direct service. So it's not so much an either or as how do we combine both together.
Good evening. I'm Michelle Dunn, Executive Director of Franciscan Action Network, and I'm thrilled to be joined by Sister Norma Pimentel, a sister with the Missionaries of Jesus. Welcome, Sister Norma.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to join all of you.
I'm going to introduce you briefly, but I'm sure everybody knows who you are. But as Executive Director of Catholic Charities of the Rio Grande Valley for many years, Sister Norma oversees the charitable arm of the Diocese of Brownsville, Texas, providing oversight of the many ministries and services in the area of the Rio Grande Valley through emergency assistance, homelessness prevention, disaster relief, clinical counseling, pregnancy care, food programs, and the Humanitarian Respite Center. Sister Norma is perhaps best known for her courageous work caring for people experiencing migration on the U.S.-Mexico border, work that brought her more awards than I can mention, and recognition from Pope Francis, and which also led to a suspension of funding from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. So your work, Sister Norma, has definitely been noticed, your courageous care for people. So, Sister Norma, our theme for this evening is human dignity. This is something you have spoken about a lot, which is why we invited you, and we're so pleased you could be with us. So our theme is how Franciscans who do direct service, as well as those who work in policy advocacy, can uphold human dignity. I'd like to ask you a few questions. I'd like to begin with your early life. So you were born in Texas to parents from Mexico, and you spent your early life back and forth on both sides of the Mexico-U.S. border. I'm wondering, how did your early life shape your views about human dignity?
Thank you for asking and for inviting me. Actually, for me, my life actually growing up, I spent a lot of time, especially in the Mexican side, with my grandparents. If we're right at the border with Mexico, which is a third world country, where great poverty exists in Mexico, and so actually being there as I was growing up and seeing people that were less fortunate, and obviously you saw beggars in the street and people asking for money, and not so much money but food, Everybody, I could see how important it was for us to care, and for my grandparents to offer anyone and everyone that came to our door and asked for food, And so I grew up understanding or being aware of the fact that there are people that need our help, and that we must be generous and share what we have with those that don't have anything. And so from very early age, I remember growing up and seeing the fact that there are people that need to work hard to make ends meet, and that it's not easy for them. And I was always, my dad was a very hardworking man that dedicated himself to his family and his children, and making sure he provided and had the best he could for us. But I saw that our neighbors and friends and kids running around didn't quite have what they needed. They had to go out, the whole family, to work in the fields, and so I was always aware of the fact that people needed help and needed to work hard to make sure they had a decent life, they could food on the table, and they had a home, and so this was something that as a child, as I grew up, it made me aware that we need to be there for others and try to help. And I remember my grandmother getting sick, and I would go visit. I would always go stay with my sister, and I would always go stay with her at home in Mexico. And I would always invite the people that cooked or that take care of us, to sit at the table with us, and that was not a custom that you would do normally. The people that served and that helped us would really ate at the kitchen, table instead of the main table. But when I was there, and I would ask them, sit with us, and I noticed myself caring for them, wanting them to be part of who we were, and treating them with some respect. I guess from a very early age, I felt this drawing into caring for others as I do today.
That's beautiful, Sister Norma. And what you were saying about inviting people to table, that's really related to our program tonight and the ministries of the Capuchin Soup Kitchen in Detroit. So another thing about you that maybe is not as widely known is that you're a painter. And I understand that your mother was also an artist.
Yes, she was. She was a beautiful, amazing, talented woman. I admired my mother so much because of her great talents. Even though she grew up very well off with her parents providing everything she needed, and she was never knew the sense of poverty at all. But yet, when she married, things changed for her. She actually married my dad. Was hardworking and had to work hard to provide for the family, and she had to learn how to be poor, and how to try to make the best of herself to help my dad make ends meet by making our own clothing and doing like the neighbors' hair and things like that. And she's so creative, but she painted as well. After she did the house chores of the house, she would take out her easel and her oil paints and start painting. And I would just sit there and watch her paint. And it was so amazing to see my mom with all her talents. And I always admired her tremendously.
Well, your own paintings also, Sister Norma, your work portraying people experiencing migration is very moving. And so I want to ask about that also related to human dignity. How does your art relate to your mission of accompaniment and upholding dignity?
Yes. Well, one of the things that really inspires me to paint is when I see a mother and a child, especially the immigrants, when they would walk into our center and you see them. One of the things that was so touching for me when during the almost 12 years that we were responding to the immigrants that were arriving since 2014, and we were receiving them and offering them the care and attention we could to help them when they arrived to the United States, and we brought them into our shelter, is seeing the resilience of a mother and caring for their child and having gone through the most difficult journey and finding themselves walking into our center and holding their child, sometimes wrapped around them, if they came from Guatemala or some area in the rural areas in their country, and just seeing that mother and that child and reflected in their eyes is the hardships of their travel, and you could see that. And so being able to capture that moment, was a way to honor the dignity of that family, that mother and that child, and share that with others. The importance of how it is to recognize that the role that a mother plays in the life of their children, and how much a mother goes through to willing to endure, so that to bring their child to safety, to a place where they can be okay. So important to capture, and I think that's one of the main things I wanted to do when I painted a mother and a child, and it was something that meant a lot to me. And when I paint, one of the things that I do is actually pray and being able to honor that woman and that family, when I'm painting and I'm trying to capture that moment. And I try to focus mostly on their eyes, and the rest isn't as much as that expression in their face, that reflects their soul, reflects whatever it is that they're at that moment are going through. And so that's what I do when I paint. And I don't know if you have any of my paintings, but right here I have the one that I actually gave the Holy Father, and it's this one right here. It's a mother and from Honduras with a little boy, Tomasito, and they were at our center probably around 10 in the evening, and they had just arrived, and they were waiting for us to feed them. And so I captured that image, and then I wanted to paint it, and I actually gave it to the Holy Father when he came to the United States, and he was in New York. And so it was my way of sharing with him and the immigrants and saying, so here is a painting that you could possibly put in your private chapel and pray for all the immigrants around the world that are through this one family, Tomasito and his mom, and it was my way of bringing the immigrant families to the Holy Father in this image of this.
What you're saying, Sister Norma, reminds me of the painting of icons. The prayer along with the painting and the focus on the eyes. So they really are icons, I think, what you're painting. So I want to ask you a little bit more about your current work. So you mentioned just now your center, the Humanitarian Respite Center that you founded in 2014. This was in response to a surge of migration across the Mexico-U.S. border, which, that surge in migration peaked in 2023. It declined in 2024. And then the U.S., it has really been cut off now under the current U.S. administration. And as I already mentioned, the Department of Homeland Security then froze funding to Catholic charities. So you've really, you've been doing this. You've been the CEO of Catholic Charities in Rio Grande Valley since 2004. You've seen a lot of changes. And so how have your efforts to care for people evolved through all these changes, and describe to us what your work is like now?
Since day one, when we took the lead to respond to what we were seeing in our community, Border Patrol was releasing families that were arriving and entering the United States, they were actually turning themselves over to the law enforcement and asking for help, for protection, for safety, and as soon as they enter the United States, crossing the river. And so Border Patrol was overwhelmed with so many families. Back in 2014, it was a lot of children and kids that were actually separated from whoever they were coming. If it wasn't mom or dad, if they cannot prove it was mom and dad, then they would separate the child and declare that child unaccompanied child, and basically to protect the child, to make sure that child was not human trafficking. And so Border Patrol was forced to keep those kids in detention until the proper Department of the United States could take care of this child and would then proceed to be sent to them. But it took them a while before they were able to secure a space where they could handle this many children. We're talking about thousands of kids less than 10 years old that were needing this kind of attention. And so families, parents with kids were released to our community here in South Texas. And so we saw them in the streets, and so immediately when we start seeing them at the bus station and completely abandoned and with great need of care, medical attention, kids were dehydrating, crying, hungry, and all dirty. They were just across the river. They had mud everywhere. We took the lead into stepping up and offering help to these families, and the community was so amazing here in South Texas. We came together as one community. I would say one faith. We all believe in the importance of one thing, and that was to restore human dignity, because that's what we were seeing. We were seeing people in distress, people who needed help, and so together, all of us came together to respond with care and compassion. And restore the dignity of the thousands of families that we were seeing in our community that needed help. And so our response was overwhelmingly generous. Everybody stepped up, whether it was a lady who would just walked in, was cleaning houses and would say, here, this is my contribution, and would give me maybe a $5 bill. I want to contribute and help you with what you're doing, because I strongly believe that this is the right thing that we all need to be doing. From others that owns a chain of hotels and say, sister, we're here to support you. Anything you need, we're here to help. And so was the city governments. They said, anything the sister needs, please, let's help her. We all believe in restoring human dignity. We believe that was who we were called to be, and how to be present to the thousands of families that we were seeing in our community that needed our help. And so through the years, we were able to respond because of this generous response from everybody. And later on, the government stepped in and says, well, I think that it is only right that the U.S. government also share in the responsibility by supporting efforts like yours. And so it was so wonderful to get funding from the federal government at that time, toward the end, the last couple of years. And it was good, and then this administration put a debarment, which put a hold because they felt that it was not right to use funding for immigrants that were illegal. And so, but in any case, that debarment was lifted already. So I'm very pleased to say that has changed, and that we do qualify for funding if there is a need and we can show the need. For sure, that is an option now. But I think that I trust 100% in God's providence and the fact that I believe in the goodness of people and the care that is in us to want to help. And so it doesn't matter when the very first day that I moved in to respond and go to the bus station and help, I didn't have a parish hall meeting or something like that where we convene and say, do we have the money to help? No, I moved in because I believe that is who we are, and we must respond and be present to the many, whoever needs us. And the generosity in the hearts of everybody, and that's one of the things that our bishop always says, has always said about the people here in our community. They're people with a big heart. They care, and whatever it is that they have, they can share some of it with those that don't have anything. And so I think that's what we're all called to do, is share that generosity, more than anything, of being present and of being present to those that really need us. And so I think it starts with that. And so I'm glad that we have always been able to respond and help in every way we are able to.
So, Sister Norma, you've become an internationally known voice for migrants. And I mentioned you've received so many awards, and you've also been targeted with harsh criticism from time to time, not you personally, but work for the work you have done on behalf of people who are migrating. So you've been given a public platform, right? And so how do you use that platform to speak up for human dignity?
Yes. Well, getting so many awards and recognitions, I struggle with that because I feel this is not about Norma, myself, but rather about what I've been able to accomplish and do for others, and I think it's about the people that I have helped. And I think that has helped me to use that platform as a way to lift up the many thousands of families that we have been able to help. They are the ones that the world needs to see, and they need to acknowledge and recognize that it is our responsibility, all of us, to be present and to be there for those that need us. And I think, if anything, all the awards and recognition is really given an opportunity for others to recognize that we all have a responsibility to others that need us. And so I'm very pleased any time that I receive an award, that it is a way that I highlight the importance of restoring human dignity, of upholding the dignity of every single person, that we must always include everybody. And as Pope Francis always says, todos, 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 everybody must be included. We cannot leave nobody out. That's what he talked about, the peripheries. We have to go to the peripheries. And sometimes those peripheries are very close to us. There are people that we leave out, that we don't acknowledge, that need to be included, that we need to be visible, because we may overlook and see those people that are needing our attention and our care and our presence, so that we can show that they matter.
So, Sister Norma, in the audience watching this program, there are many Franciscans and Franciscan-hearted people who are deeply involved in service to, but also advocacy and solidarity with people who are experiencing hardships. And I would say especially people who are experiencing migration, and also people experiencing poverty. So I would like to ask you if you could reflect with us a little bit about the relationship between direct service and policy advocacy. And what advice do you have for those of us who do policy advocacy? How can our work complement your work in upholding human dignity?
Yes, for me, it's one and the same. I think you cannot separate them. When you respond and provide service and care, compassion to a person, or to a community, you're advocating for the fact that it is important to be present to those who need us, So it goes one and the same. We're doing both, but at the same time, every opportunity we have to share the life of someone the story of a mother, a family who is struggling, who needs help, we're actually bringing that person to the forefront so that we can have better social structures that are oppressive, that are hurting some members of our community, some groups that are being left out, who are hurting from the structures in society that do not include correctly people that need attention and care, and be part of the right solutions to make our communities better. And so I think this is where we make sure we speak up and voice the fact that we all have a responsibility to create laws and policies and social structures that protect everybody, that don't leave no one out, that is who we're called to be, to build for the common good, for the good of everybody. We must make sure that no one is left out, And so I think that is the mission or the calling that we have as people of God, to make sure we are that voice that reminds us all that it is our responsibility to share our wealth, share our resources, share our time, share our efforts and creativeness to make up this world a better world for everybody. It's not just us, just not my family. Yes, we have a responsibility to our own family, but it doesn't stop there. It needs to go beyond. The generosity and the blessings that we abundantly receive from God is something that we have to show gratitude to by returning back and giving back to our community and to others. Recently, just yesterday, I was at a funeral of a wonderful man from the community who passed away, very well successful in so many ways, in his life and his career. And, in the reflection of the homily, the priest shared how he accompanied this man in his last days before he passed. And he said, the one thing that I'm worried about, have I done enough for God? For all that He's God's generosity towards me, have I done enough that I feel that I haven't, And so, let's not wait until that last moment when we may ask ourselves that question: have we done enough? I think that we must always, every day, like Pope Francis often said, let us go to bed tired of doing good, that way we will know for a fact that we've done everything we can to help those that need us,
Well, Sister Norma, the participants in this program, they're also people of prayer. And so I wanted to ask you to reflect a little bit about the spiritual basis, the grounding for your work. I read some fascinating things about you, about your own about your relationship with God, your spiritual practice, and how you ground yourself. But I wanted to ask you to say, in your own words, how do you find that inner strength and inspiration to keep you going? You're exposed to a lot of suffering, and you are going to bed tired every night. You're tiring yourself out, trying to give. And so tell us a little bit, about share a little bit about your own life of prayer and how it strengthens you.
Yes, I think that sometimes we all may have a very good prayer life. And that's good where we go to church. It's important, I think, that receiving the Eucharist daily is something that is so nourishing and important to have in our life. It's possible to receive it every day. That would be amazing. I think I don't see us starting a day without having that opportunity to receive the Holy Eucharist as a nourishment that for our soul and for our life. And so I think that it's so important to do that. But even more so, I find that sometimes when things look kind of harder in time and you see things not, especially in our times most recently, where I ask myself why, how things have to be so difficult for so many people and all that we've seen happening, and we don't understand it. I don't understand it myself, and I think to help me personally, really not get in the way of God in the process of understanding and living out my days. I start my day very early in the morning. The very first thing I do is my dogs, my two girls they're my first attention at 4 a.m. I take care of them, and then I get ready and go before the Blessed Sacrament for 1 hour from 5 to 6, and I need to start my day with God. I need to be there in silence, just in His presence without saying anything at all, just allowing myself to let God form me in whatever way He wants me to start my day and whatever is I'm going to face without interfering with him in any way. That I find that is so important to do that it guides me to make sure I can focus on the goodness of life and the goodness that comes from him that I can pass on to and in every moment. I think that I find that that's how I nourish my spirit and my soul, so that I can let God be God in me, so that I can be to others what God wants me to be.
Wow, I love that, Sister Norma. That's so beautiful, and I really identify with what you were saying about not getting in God's way, trying to, as you said, let God be God in you, so you can be God for others. That's so beautiful. A couple of some of our participants submitted questions in advance, so I'm just going to ask you a couple of them because we're about at the end of our time here. So, how do we move beyond political debates to see people who are experiencing hardships such as migration or poverty as people with stories and dreams?
Yes, I believe that it's interesting how our times most recently has been very politicized. It's almost as if that has hijacked our faith and our ourselves, in allowing the political rhetoric and all that is going on to be the one that dictates who I am and who God is in me. It's sort of like we need to reclaim God in our life, in our soul, in our being, so that God be the force, the compass that pulls us forward to be who he's calling us to be, separate from politics. Don't let it take the most precious and amazing thing we have, which is God, and let God be God, in us. And so God will guide us and will. I think, if anything, God is about 100% about love and about caring for others, caring for yourself and caring for others, and respecting that presence of that person before you, which is who God wants us to be able to. That's the only thing that's going to count. One day we ever going to see God before us. The most important thing he's going to ask us is not about policies and politics or anything like that. It's going to be how we treated each other. How did you welcome the stranger? How did you open up your heart to receive and to care and to love every person that God has put before you, and gave you a chance to do something about? How can you use your hands and your feet to show that presence of God in the world? We have a lot of work to do, and that is aside from politics. It's about really living out our faith in those around us and beyond. As many people we can touch and we can care for. That's who we're called to be. Reclaim the amazing presence of God in all of us.
Thank you so much, Sister Norma. I can't think of a better note on which to end this interview. I want to thank you again. It's been wonderful to have you with us. Thank you so much for sharing the precious gift of your time and your inspiration with Franciscans across the country. Thank you so much, Sister Norma.
Thank you, and may the peace be with all of us.
Peace be with you. The next segment of our program is going to be about the exciting happenings in our Franciscan Justice Circles, the local affinity groups that FAN has organized across the United States. We'll hear from our Director of Justice Circles, Nora Pfeiffer, who will give out our annual Franciscan Justice Award. And we'll also hear from one of our Justice Circle animators, Sherry Bandera, who's going to show you some of the exciting things happening in our circles across the country.
Hi, I'm Sherry Bandera, and I'm part of the Franciscan Justice Circle animators team on staff at FAN. Franciscan-hearted people from all over the country have been coming together to build community and take action for justice. Let's hear from some of our circle members to find out what their circles have been up to and how they're impacting people's lives.
I'm Carolyn.
I live in Denver and I participate in the Colorado Franciscan Justice Circle. What I especially appreciate about being part of a Justice Circle is that when we come together, we are guided by the foundational principles handed down to us by Francis and Claire of Assisi. There is true joy in walking together because the road to justice is long and uphill.
Hi, I'm Lynn Pawnell from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. What's been really great about being involved with Franciscan Justice Circles is that there are so many interesting people all over the country doing great work for advocacy. We're all very excited and are looking forward to seeing what we can do for social justice advocacy here in Winston-Salem.
My name is Brother Christopher, and I am a member of the Southern California Franciscan Justice Circle. One of the things that I think is so exciting for us is we've recently worked with the Northern California Justice Circle to come up with advocacy ideas for the state of California, where we can come together and present a program to them on the values that a FAN embolish, all those 8 Franciscan values. And I'm looking forward to see where we go and how this will be accomplished and the impact that we have here.
I'm Terrence Lover from Woodstock, New York, and I've been a member of the Franciscan Justice Circle, Mid-Hudson Valley, for approximately 4 years. During the past year, we have added new members who have highlighted integral ecology as their main concern. Our circle has acknowledged the interconnectedness of this issue with immigration, generational inclusiveness, and global peace. The opportunity to safely and respectfully discuss these challenges and take actions to address them has strengthened a sense of unity among our circle members.
Hi, my name is Delia Barajas. I live in Sister, Illinois, an environmental justice community. I am part of the Franciscan Justice Circle in Chicago because of my strong faith in our creator of everything. The Chicago Justice Circle listens like Francis and takes action like Francis.
I'm Colette from the Washington, D.C. Circle. Finding this group has given my own life a sense of new purpose. The group introduced me to an interfaith organization that supports immigrants called into court hearings and ISAP check-ins all around the metropolitan D.C. area. On my most recent assignment, a prayer group, including several Franciscans, was outside the courthouse. We prayed together for the mother and twin 4-year-old children who were being called in. What a purpose.
Hello, I'm Jenna Wysong Filbrin from Indiana, and I'm a member of the Virtual Justice Circle. We've been studying Father Richard Rohr's latest book, The Tears of Things, together this year. I have really appreciated hearing from my circle mates about how it is for each of them to work through anger, sadness, and love toward healing.
Hi, this is Michael Huck from the Chicagoland Franciscan Justice Circle. I think what I enjoy the most about circles is that even within a Franciscan world, you don't always find people that want to talk about social justice issues, particularly advocacy. Back in October, we did a pilgrimage of hope for creation in Cicero, Illinois, where we stopped to pray at an environmental injustice sites. And then we returned to Cicero in February to learn from people who are affected by the immigration crackdown and from different agencies.
Hello, everyone. I'm Bill Krause, a Capuchin Franciscan friar in Alamo, Texas, and I've been associating myself with the Texas Franciscan Social Justice Circle for just about 3 Zoom meetings. My concluding word at our last Zoom meeting was simply family. It's just a whole lot easier and much more enjoyable to do preaching and to do social justice work as a group, as a fraternity, as a community. Paz y bien a todos.
Good evening. I am Nora Pfeiffer, Director of Franciscan Justice Circles here at FAN. We have 34 amazing local affinity groups who, inspired by the Franciscan charism, are advocating for social and environmental justice in their local communities all across the country. Just a few years ago, we had 14 circles and now 20 more. We are so excited by this growth in action and community. Each year with the Franciscan Justice Award, we highlight and honor one out of all these wonderful groups who are embodying the values and action that are at the heart of our shared mission to protect people, planet, and peace. This year, the New Mexico Franciscan Justice Circle is the recipient of this award. They uniquely balance inner spiritual work with outer advocacy. Their actions include direct service, systemic advocacy at the state and national levels, engaging church leadership on creation care, touring recycling facilities, organizing a pilgrimage of hope for creation, and they really prioritize spiritual grounding in their meetings and foster mutual care as they promote justice in their state. We are honored to present this award to the New Mexico Franciscan Justice Circle.
Hello, my name's Nancy. On behalf of our FJC group in Albuquerque, we want to thank FAN for this wonderful award and for all they've done to support us in our work as an FJC.
And Yate Alnotso, hello to all of you. I thank this justice group for all the help they gave me when I arrived here a year ago. Thank you.
And this is Brother Paul, and he went with us on the pilgrimage we did last fall to learn more about our Native Americans and our environment. We've also done some advocacy work at the state legislature, and we've done some nature experiences, and we do reading about Francis.
We are so very grateful to the New Mexico Franciscan Justice Circle and all the circles for channeling Franciscan spirituality into tangible community action. Next up is Derek Nolan, the president of FAN's board, to announce an exciting, large, anonymous gift.
Good evening, I'm Derek Nolan, president of the board of the Franciscan Action Network. FAN's board initiated a growth and sustainability campaign for our organization last year, which we will continue until we celebrate our 20th anniversary in 2028. Last year, we announced we've been blessed with a catalytic gift from the Franciscan Sisters of Perpetual Adoration, which made it possible for FAN to expand its work this year and also to found an endowment. Tonight, I am pleased to announce a second extraordinary seven-figure gift to our endowment from an institutional member congregation of FAN who has chosen to remain anonymous at this time. This gift will support FAN's ability to bring forth collective Franciscan voice for justice, peace, creation, and human dignity for the future generations. The board and I express our warm thanks for this amazing gift and our commitment to building an endowment to reach our goal by 2028. Thank you for your generosity to FAN.
Hello, this is Dr. Barbara Williams Skinner, co-convener of the Faith United to Save Democracy, and we are delighted that Franciscan Action Network is one of our most solid partners in this work of recruiting, training, and deploying poll chaplain and peacekeepers to be a calming, moral presence at polling sites in vulnerable polling locations across the country in our 9 states. I am excited about the work of Franciscan Action Network, and so I want to offer a prayer for the strength and the vitality you will need to continue your great work of upholding human dignity in all you do. So pray with me. Our Lord and our God, we thank you for yet another day and for the opportunity we have always to come to you and bring every burden to you. And Lord, we are burdened today about the lack of fair treatment of all humans, for everyone is made in your image, God, the image of God, the Imago Dei, that they all, Lord God, have inherent dignity, value, and worth. The fundamental value, God, is not related to any social status or gender or ethnicity, but the fact that your handprint is on all of us. God, today we pray for the good work of Franciscan Action Network and their commitment to upholding human dignity in all that they do. They are rooted and grounded in Matthew 25 because they understand that whatever we do for the least of these, those who have been left by the side too often of life's lonely road, we are doing to you, God. And so Franciscan Action Network reminds us, Lord, today that we are to demonstrate our faith by showing love and care and compassion to all of those in need, according to your word in 1 John 3:17, that we cannot literally call ourselves children of God, knowing that a brother or sister has need and we walk by. Instead, remember the grace and mercy that you've extended to all of us. Thank you again, God, for this amazing work. We ask you to shower your love, your blessings, your protection, your care, and all of your provision on the Franciscan Action Network, that they are always able to continue doing the work that pleases God. We praise you and we give you the glory. In Jesus' mighty name, amen, amen, and amen.
Thank you once again for your generous support of FAN. Let us continue to be inspired by the gospel of Jesus and the example of St. Francis and St. Clare to do what is ours to do in upholding human dignity. Let us build together an intergenerational Franciscan movement for justice, peace, creation, and human dignity, and lift up our collective voices in love. Have an enjoyable evening. Wishing you peace and all good from the Franciscan Action Network.
Nobody walks alone. We all hold the world together. I remember that nobody walks alone. We all hold the world together. I remember that nobody walks alone. I remember that we all hold the body together. I remember that we all hold the body together. I remember that we all hold the body together. I remember that we all hold the body together. I remember that we all hold the body together. I remember that we all hold the world together. I remember that we all hold the world together. I remember that no